Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Alrighty, so even though 2025 is not officially over yet, I pretty much know what I'm going to read for the rest of this month, so I figured now is an okay time to just look back on my reading goals that I set out for myself for this year and just see whether or not I accomplished all of my reading goals or not. So without further ado, let's get right on into it, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Okay, so at the beginning of this year, I set out with three reading goals. I wanted to finish my physical TBR from last year. I wanted to read more classics in the new year, and I wanted to read more romantasy in the new year. So let's go over those in detail and see whether or not I accomplished them. So finishing my physical TBR does not include everything from like this year. It does not include all the books that I bought myself this year. It includes just everything from 2024 and previously because like girl, at the end of last year I did have quite a few things on my physical TBR where I was just like, okay, I need to get through this. I need to get through this. I need to make an effort to get through this. So let's just review. Like, did I get through all of those? And spoiler alert, no, but I did pretty well. I did pretty well. So on my physical TBR at the end of last year, I had All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir, which I did read, 5 stars. The Bitter End by Alexa Dunn, I also did read that. Such Charming Liars by Karen M. McManus, did read that. The Emperor and the Endless Palace by Justinian Huang, I tried to read that, but I DNF'd it, but I still count it. Together in a Broken World by Paul Michael Winters, also a DNF. So, as long as I tried it, as long as I tried to read the book, I still count it. Yeah. Anyway, but unfortunately, like I said, I didn't get through all of those books, so we still have to get through The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. That's a romantasy. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, also a fantasy. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, a romantasy. And The Path of Deceit by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland. That's a Star Wars book. So overall, overall, I made it through more than half of my physical TBR from last year. I really, really did. So I consider it a win. Even though I didn't get through all of them, I do still consider that goal a win. Now, my second goal for this year was to read more romantasy because I love fantasy, I love romance, but I've never really gotten into romantasy too much. So I was like, I should theoretically love this genre. I really, really should. Maybe I just haven't dived deep enough into it yet to really find what I'm looking for, because oftentimes when like you just read the most popular stuff from a genre or whatever, like the most popular titles of a certain genre, you're not always going to find your favorites. You really have to dig deep in sometimes to really find what you're looking for in a specific genre. So I was like, you know what? I should theoretically love romantasy, so I'm going to make an effort to read more romantasy this year, which is why there were quite a few romantasies on my physical TBR as of last year. There really, really were because I was like, you know what? I'm going to make an effort to read these. And some of those I did not get to reading because I looked at them when they arrived and I was like, oh, they're huge. They're huge. Like, okay, we'll put those off for later. Anyway, but did I end up reading some romantasy? I'm going to consider this one a fail. I'm going to consider this goal a fail, even though I did technically read some romantasy this year. I don't think I read enough to really like satisfy what I was intending to do with this goal, which is like dive deep into it and figure out whether I really like it or not. But I did read a few this year. I read A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen, and I'm currently reading A Curse Carved in Bone. It's that, duology. I'm really enjoying the sequel. I really, really am. I'm liking the sequel more than the first book, I will say that. I also read the Divine Rivals duology by Rebecca Ross, which I freaking love. I love the Divine Rivals stuff. I really, really thought going into it that I was just going to think that it was mid. I really, really did, just because of the way that I saw people kind of hyping it up on TikTok. Sometimes the TikTok people hype up the most questionable books, let's all be honest. So I was like, I'm probably gonna think that this is mid, but no, I fully understand the Divine Rivals hype train, and I don't understand why some people dislike the second book. Like, hello, y'all need some taste because the second book is just as good as the first one. Like, truly, truly. Anyway, and I also read A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana, and that was so cozy. That was so freaking cozy in a good way. I freaking had a wonderful time with that. It was so cute. It was so sweet. It was just, I read it in September because I was like, ooh, fall vibes, stuff like that. And it's just like, oh, yes, that is the perfect, like, fall book. That is honestly a good springtime book, also. Honestly, just because of the vibes. Anyway. And now the big one that I set out to do this year, I wanted to read more classics. I wanted to dive into classics and see, whether I like them, why they stand the test of time, what's so great about them that people still treat them as beloved today. I really wanted to like dive into classics and see like, okay, these are like supposed to be like super influential cornerstones of storytelling in their specific genres and stuff. So, I kind of want to know. I kind of want to know. I'm curious. I'm curious. So let's dive into that. Let's dive into that. And this one is the one that I made the most effort to accomplish this year because I really, really did want to like get into my classics era. Now, when it came to this goal, I set out specifically with either one classic a month or 12 classics in a year. I gave myself that wiggle room of like, okay, as long as I read 12, like it doesn't really matter if I read like one every single month, like as long as I read 12, which is good because I didn't end up reading classics in either October or November. But anyway, I have read a total of 11 classics so far, and my 12th one will be The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Narnia thing, because like I've never seen it and I've never read it, but everybody says that like, oh, it's so good for like December. It's such like cozy winter Christmas vibes, and well, it's Christmas time. So, and it's really short, at least from what I saw. It's a lot shorter than I thought it was originally. So we're going to be reading that one for my last classic of the year. So I don't have any thoughts on that one yet, but we will be reading that at the end of the year, and you will see in my big wrap-up video my thoughts on that. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm rambling. What did I actually read in terms of classics this year? So I read basically Jane Austen's entire collection. I read her first book, Sense and Sensibility, last December, but all of her other books, I read them this year. So, Pride and Prejudice, Lady Susan, Mansfield Park, Northanger Abbey, Emma, Persuasion. I read all of those, and overall, I really had a good time with Jane Austen. I really, really did. I really do enjoy her work. Ah, my God, I so wish she could have lived longer and given us more books. Like truly, truly, truly. I love Jane Austen's work so much that like A, I want to do a reread sometime in the future, and also B, I'm currently honestly looking for like a box collection to like buy cause like I read all these classics on audio via my library, but like I want to get like a box collection of like the Jane Austen novels just because like I like her work so much that like I want to keep them forever for my own personal collection. But like I will say it is kind of hard to find like a good box edition because like I want a hardcover and a lot of the hardcovers they kind of have like kind of ugly covers. I will just say that. But so it's like Anyway, that's not the point. But like, did I love Jane Austen's work? Absolutely. Like overall, yes, I really, really did. So what other classics did I read? I also read The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Hated it. Hated it. Just no. 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 I can't. I can't. Let's move on. I read 1984 by George Orwell. I personally didn't really enjoy it, and nor did I personally really get anything of value out of it. But I do see why a lot of people do get value out of it and get like new ideas and new perspective out of it. I really, really do understand why a lot of people get a lot of stuff out of it. So for that regard, I do think that is a very good novel, and I think that it is very relevant, especially in today's world. I mean, it's relevant 24/7, let's be honest, especially if you live in America. But like, especially in today's world in 2025, like it's more relevant than ever. Like I really do think everybody should read 1984 at least once. Like, even if you're like me and you don't really enjoy it by the end or really get like any new ideas or perspectives or anything, like at least read it one time. At least read it one time. Just to like, yeah, just read it one time at least. I also read Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. Oh, I love this one. I freaking love this one. Oh my God, I love this one so much. It's so nice. It's so pleasant. It was honestly like listening to somebody's grandma like tell her life story, and it was so enjoyable. I really did love Their Eyes Were Watching God. Like, that's another one that I should probably get for my own personal collection. I really should get like a physical version of that one. I also read Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. No. 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 A lot of people say that like, oh, it's so important because like it goes into book banning and all that kind of stuff. Does it really though? Does it really though? Like, did it really pull off that concept well though? Did it really? Did it really have that conversation well though? Did it? No, it did not. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I honestly thought that like Great Gatsby was going to be my worst read of the year, and then Fahrenheit 451 came in and was like, "No, bitch. I'm here. I'm your worst read of the year. Like I am nonsensical. Period." Classic stance. Put the pitchforks down. Please put the pitchforks down. Like, it's just my opinion. I can't stand Fahrenheit 451. I think it is a ridiculous, nonsensical book. Truly. Like, oh my God. Anyway, I also read The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This is actually a reread because I had to read it in high school, but I didn't really get it or understand it at the time. So I was like, you know what? I'm older, so like I kind of want to see if I understand it better now. And like I do. And even though yes, it has like all of the traits and qualities of teenage writing, both good and bad. I will say though, I really do think The Outsiders does really have a lot of merit and hold a lot of value in today's world, even still, not because of like the normal reasons that people cite it for. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, it tackles classism so well." Da, 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 da. Like, I personally think that it holds a lot of value in today's world because it is like a time capsule. It is so much just like a time capsule. It perfectly like captures that socioeconomic standing in that specific time period of like when it was written and like the circumstances of like how of like why the author wrote it in the first place. Like it really does capture that specific um world and and especially that youthful young viewpoint of those specific types of people, of like the poor, like kind of like gangstery greaser kind of people of like the 1950s 60s whenever it came out. Like it really is like a nice little time capsule of that specific era, and I think for that reason alone, like it does hold a lot of value. Just to like go back and list and like see like even though it's fiction obviously, get like a little peek at to how some people lived and spoke and thought back then and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a really interesting read. I really did like it. Now, I will say, I would have actually had 12 if I had finished this one, but I did attempt Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Oh my God, girl. I know it's very short. I know it's very short. The audiobook is only 3 hours. I couldn't even make it through it. I got 1 hour in and said, girl, fuck this. Oh my God. Here's the thing with that one. I obviously knew that it was problematic. Like, I knew that, but I wasn't expecting just how hateful it is. Like even though I thought that I had mentally prepared myself for like, okay, it's gonna be problematic. There's probably gonna be some racism, some sexism. I've heard that it's like really ableist. Da, da, da. Like, okay, I get that. Like, I'm prepared. No, I didn't expect it to be like so freaking over the top in terms of all its hatefulness. Like every single ism is present at 100 degrees, 175 degrees from page one. And I was just like, Anyway, like, I don't need to write a book report on this, and I don't know why this is taught to high schoolers or middle schoolers or even, because, like, I don't know why I don't see any value in this whatsoever. Quite honestly, maybe I had to get to the end to see the value in it, but honestly, I just didn't want to. But yeah, of Mice and Men. Girl, help me. Lord, help me. Oh my God. Anyway, I will say one thing that I have learned on this little journey of reading classics over the year is that I really think that I, in general, enjoy classics written by women and in general dislike classics written by men. Because a lot of the classics that I read written by men, I was just like, oh my God, please spare me. Oh my God, please let this be over with. But a lot of the classics that I read that were written by women, both this year and a few that I've read in the past, like Little Women, for example, I have freaking loved them. I really have. Like I've been like, okay, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Like this is a little out of my wheelhouse, but I'm here for it, girly. Take me on a journey. Take me on a story. Like I am here for it. I am interested in seeing what's going on. So yeah, that's a really interesting development. I mean, granted, I do read more women authors overall more than male authors, but still, it's still just kind of interesting to like most of the classics that I read, but that I read written by men, I was just like, ugh. But most of the classics that I read written by women, I was just like, ooh, okay. So yeah, that was a very interesting lesson and perspective to gain. Interesting. But yeah, I think overall that is all of my reading goals for this year and whether or not I accomplished them. And so I would say that like 2 out of 3 of my reading goals I have accomplished, and one of them, even though I did make progress on it, I didn't really accomplish it too much. But oh well, there's always next year. There is always next year, and I am already thinking of some reading goals that I have for next year. So maybe I'll make a video on that to come the new year. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with your thoughts on my thoughts on what your reading goals for the year were, what you plan on doing for reading goals in terms of next year, or just really anything. Just anything you want to comment whatsoever. Anyway, I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!